This unit is over adaptions. I'm going to start out with a short video presented by Ted Ed.
Seas, massive droughts, changing landscapes. Successfully adapting to climate change is growing increasingly important. For humans, this means using our technological advancement to find solutions, like smarter cities and better water management. But for some plants and animals, adapting to these global changes involves the most ancient solution of all: evolution. Evolutionary adaptation usually occurs along timescales of thousands to hundreds of thousands of years. But in cases where species are under especially strong selective conditions, like those caused by rapidly changing climates, adaptive evolution can happen more quickly. In recent decades, we've seen many plants, animals, and insects relocating themselves and undergoing changes to their body sizes and the dates they flower or breed. But many of these are plastic or non-heritable changes to an individual's physical traits, and there are limits to how much an organism can change its own physiology to meet environmental requirements. That's why scientists are seeking examples of evolutionary changes coded in species' DNA that are heritable, long-lasting, and may provide a key to their future. Take the tawny owl. If you were walking through a wintry forest in northern Europe 30 years ago, chances are you'd have heard, rather than seen, this elusive bird. Against the snowy backdrop, its plumage would have been near impossible to spot. Today, the landscape is vastly different. Since the 1980s, climate change has led to significantly less snowfall, but you'd still struggle to spot a tawny owl, because nowadays, they're brown. The brown color variant is the genetically dominant form of plumage in this species, but historically, the recessive pale gray variant triumphed because of its selective advantage in helping these predators blend in. However, less snow cover reduces opportunities for camouflage, so lately, this gray color variant has been losing the battle against natural selection. The offspring of the brown color morphs, on the other hand, have an advantage in exposed forests, so brown tawny owls are flourishing today. Several other species have undergone similar climate change adaptive genetic changes in recent decades. Pitcher plant mosquitoes have rapidly evolved to take advantage of the warmer temperatures, entering dormancy later and later in the year. Two-spot ladybug populations, once comprised of equal numbers of melanic and non-melanic morphs, have now shifted almost entirely to the non-melanic color combination. Scientists think that keeps them from overheating. Meanwhile, pink salmon have adapted to warmer waters by spawning earlier in the season to protect their sensitive eggs. And wild thyme plants in Europe are producing more repellent oils to protect themselves against the herbivores that become more common when it's warm. These plants and animals belong to a group of about 20 identified species with evolutionary adaptations to rapid climate change, including snapping turtles, wood frogs, knotweed, and silver-spotted skipper butterflies. However, scientists hope to discover more species evolving in response to climate change out of 8.7 million species on the planet. For most of our planet's astounding and precious biodiversity, evolution won't be the answer. Instead, many of those species will have to rely on us to help them survive a changing world or face extinction. The good news is we already have the tools. Across the planet, we're making on-the-ground decisions that will help entire ecosystems adapt. Critical climate refuges are being identified and set aside, and projects are underway to help mobile species move to more suitable climates. Existing parks and protected areas are also doing climate change checkups to help their wildlife cope. Fortunately, it's still within our power to preserve much of the wondrous biodiversity of this planet, which, after all, sustains us in so many ways.
So fitness is an individual's ability to survive and reproduce. The higher the fitness, the more likely it's going to find a mate because it's going to appear more healthy and attractive. Still happens in society today. Adaptation is the trait that improves that fitness. A good example of this is the polar bear. The polar bear was once a brown bear in northern Siberia, and as it started to prey on seals, The ones that had the lighter coating were less likely to be seen by the seals, and therefore they got more food and they were more healthy. Over time, you get lighter and lighter types of bears mating with each other because of the higher fitness. The adaptation becomes that the lighter the fur, the more strong and prevalent that genotype or phenotype is in the population. Little do a lot of people know, the polar bear's fur is not white. It is actually a clearish color. It appears white because, like a crystal, when it's frosted or imperfect on the outside, it reflects light in a white pattern. Another example of this is a giraffe. I'm going to play another video in a little bit to help highlight this. The change for the giraffes, as you can see in the upper left, the ones with a longer neck were able to continue to feed not only on the lower leaves but on the upper leaves, while the ones with the shorter necks could only hit the bottom of the trees. Those trees actually grow quite tall, as large as pecan trees. So over time, the ones with the longer necks that could hit the higher levels of leaves, they stayed healthy. They had more energy, more protein, more muscle mass, and they were higher levels of fitness. Hence, they were selected by the females to have more offspring, and then that trend of a longer neck became more prevalent. Now, with mutations, they're not always positive. Most often, mutations cause an issue where the birth does not occur or the offspring is born and does not make it very long. It is not like an X-Men movie where they get superpowers. The mutation may be only something such as clear fur or longer necks, maybe larger vertebrae. For example, the human immune system must battle a large variety of viruses and bacteria that regularly attempt to invade the body. Recombination allows new allele combinations to come together, which provides new immune defenses. Also, little is known, if you ever get to take like molecular or supramolecular in college, a lot of times these viruses or viruses, when they invade a cell, they tend to actually leave some of their DNA within the cells. And one of the theories right now is humans have progressed and became who they are due to viral infections through the past, changing their genome and having a broad effect on their physical and mental abilities. Now, the adaptation and environmental changes, the problem we're seeing right now that we're really going to highlight, of course, through this unit is the environmental changes are happening so fast that creatures cannot respond to them quick enough. Most of the time, these adaptations take centuries, a millennial of worth of time. A good example is coral reefs. Within 10 years, pH changed and boom, coral reefs died. The adaptation is not going to occur very quickly. Here's another example. I wanted to bring this up. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner, that bird, which looks like these other birds of paradise, it's actually a picture taking downtown Austin. I don't know if you've seen it, but we do have a colony of brightly colored birds like this now flying around Austin. I actually saw some fly past the school a couple days ago. That's why I put this in here. So the first birds to reach this island probably arrived around 8 million years ago from East Asia. They ranged in spectacular color from bright shades of red to muted golds and greens. We'll never know how exactly these colonists made the epic journey, but once they had done so, they took their new home like birds to an empty island. Over eons, the founders, that first population of birds, evolved into at least 140 species of birds. So you had one original type, and through adaptations, they adjusted their physiology, phenology, and you have 140 different species now. Hawaiian's equivalent to Darwin's finches is the Hawaiian honeycreepers, which branch into at least 56 species just from one or two. They outstrip the finches in both number and variety. They range in color from shades of red to muted golds and greens. Their beaks, too, have changed shape, reflecting the different lifestyles each bird has adopted to. You can only see a slight difference between the left one and middle one, but look at the one on the far end. Their beaks, too, have changed shape, reflecting different lifestyles each bird has adapted to. The beaks of the honeycreepers range from short to long to stubby and delicate, and from straight to curved, or an indigenous combination of the two. That way they can reach different flowers or different seeds within different fruiting tree parts. The monk parrot is actually the one you're seeing on the bottom right. This one is found all over Austin right now, including UT's instrumental fields in Hyde Park, where you'll see that picture was taken. All right, we're going to watch this video. The school's trying to block it. There's always a way around it, so let me get this. And I will get this to play for us.
But in South Africa, their population is increasing. The giraffe, one of the most
Distance has been on all of our minds lately.
Hold on.
The giraffe, one of the most distinctive species across the continent, and also the tallest mammal to walk our planet.
The easiest way to tell the difference between a male and a female is the horns on top of their head, called the ossicones. Now, a female will have tufts of hair on top, whereas the males will be completely bald, and that's all due to fighting.
Known for their remarkable biology, they have evolved some peculiar adaptations which allow them to graze without competition.
Their huge long tongues are pigmented, a kind of dark bluey colour, which protects them from the sun, and this enables them to eat high in the treetops all day long.
Not only are they able to withstand the scorching sun whilst they eat, but their skin is truly extraordinary. It was long wondered why giraffes had their spectacular patterns, but it would seem their striking patches may help them stay cool. It was found that underneath each darkened patch, they had sweat glands, but the size of these glands was significantly larger, suggesting that indeed their skin plays a vital part in them regulating their body temperature, and therefore surviving. Giraffes are capable of travelling more than 10 miles a day as they browse acacia trees. But when the giraffe begins to feed, the acacia tree releases powerful chemicals to deter its predator. And as it does, it sends signals down through its root network, warning the surrounding trees. But as the giraffe eats, it spreads seeds and can even pollinate the acacia's flowers. In this evolutionary arms race, every single living thing is connected, as they evolved as one over millions of years. And without the giraffe, the open plains would look very different.
To its death. A mud skipper, a fish that spends most of its life out of the sea. It can walk on land and breathe air. Its life is very different from that of most fish. A fish out of water, maybe, but they thrive here in Japan. So what's made this upheaval worthwhile? The answer lies in the mud. As the tide retreats, it exposes mud flats. Sunlight hits the rich silt, and tiny plants and animals flourish there. All food for a mudskipper. But life on land is not without problems. It's hard work to find a mate. Jumping high above the mud will get you noticed. With eyes perched on the top of their heads, the mudskippers keep a lookout for both friend and foe. And males fight those who intrude on their territory. They must also take care not to dry out in the sun. Rolling in the ooze keeps the skin cool and moist. For this smaller species, a better option is to retreat underground. So he digs himself a tunnel down into the mud. His heap of spoil is an indication of the extent of his excavations. With the tide flooding the tunnel twice a day, maintenance is a real burden.